Let's talk about the 1400s. The 1400s in Spain, that was a very interesting time. Now, anyone who hasn't been living under a rock, you would know that the so-called people who they called the Moors, they controlled Spain for over 700 years. When they defeated the people who existed there in Spain, they made those people live their way of life. So a lot of the people got used to the ways of the Moors. Now, some people, man, they may not have been, although they may not have been brown skinned, but some of those people still, like I said, they accepted the ways of the Moors and they became known as the Moors themselves because they lived like the Moors. But man, when that new regime came into the Catholic Church, that new regime wanted to get rid of spirituality. Why would it want to get rid of spirituality? It wanted to get rid of spirituality because spirituality has the ability to turn people into super people. You would have one person who would have the skills of a doctor. He would have the skills of a lawyer. He would know how to, he would understand military tactics. He would be a great playwright. He knew how to write books. He knew the science of love. He knew the science of dance. One person would be known as a Renaissance man. And that was a common fashion. And see, and more and more people started to become Renaissance men and women, and it made it hard for governments to control these people because they were too intelligent. So this new regime said, you know what? We don't want them to be studying that spirituality anymore. We need to shut this down. You could only be religious. And if you do not accept this new form of religion that we are giving on to the people, you got to go. And if you do not go, we will throw you in prison. We will take all of your wealth. We will take whatever property you have, and we will take your children and we will reprogram them to think the way how we want them to think. They wanted to put people to sleep. They did not want you to be an intelligent people. The Moors were a problem because the Moors had the ability to teach the world how to be better. Now, we don't get me wrong. Just because you was a Moor, that didn't always make you righteous, because people are people. So I just got to clear that out the way. But there were some people who did not look like the Moors, who did not look like this here, but they lived the ways of the Moors. They were educated by the Moors, and they would turn against them too as well for not accepting the way this new form of religion. Now the war between the Moors, the war between the Christianity and Islam started because they wanted to remove the spirituality away from Islam too. Because see, right now they still do have Sufism. That is the spiritual side of Islam. But they tried to get rid of the spiritual side of Islam, and they knew that they weren't going to allow them to make them be able to make them bow down and become Christians because Islam, they was too strong. But they said we can get our hands on that book, and we could change that book. The Quran that you see today that the people love, that is not the original Quran. The original Quran was taken from Muhammad. The young lady that they gave to Muhammad to marry, her job was to get her hands on that book. People are going to war against you because they want you to remain ignorant. If you were to become an intelligent person and you manifest that onto the world, it makes it hard for them to control you. So they were trying to get you to slip into the darkness. But let's continue in the 1400s. Now, some of those people, man, they was like, man, you know what? I'll just leave. And they did. Some of them went back to India. Some of them went to places like Madagascar. Some of them went to other parts of America, went to some of the parts of America, and some of them went to parts of Africa. But some of them said, you know what? I built too much wealth here already. I can't walk away from this corporation. So they said, you know what? Well, I accept this new thing that you call religion. So In the day they were Christians, but at night they were either Hebrews, Muslims, or Christian scientists. But if they would find out that you were doing that you were still studying your ways, oh, they was coming at you. Now, some of the people who ran and went to France, they was like, man, you know what? We just gonna live up here in France, man. I ain't dealing with that stuff down there. But as time went by, the same system started to manifest in France. So then they had to run again. These people, they became known as the Huguenots due to the fact that, wow, I forgot about that word. They became known as Huguenots, and they were looked upon as Protestants. Yeah, they would act one way during the day, but at night they were something else. They were doing the same thing over there in France. But man, look, listen, there was an all-out war against the intelligence of brown people. So we were on the run, man. They ran from France. They ran to Scotland. They ran to Ireland, and then they ran over to the Americas. Now, a lot of those people who left France, who became known as Huguenots, some of them came to the Americas, and the first places that they started to land in America was the doggone Carolinas. This is why in South Carolina you will find a building named the Huguenot Factory or something like that. A lot of those people were Huguenots. Man, you guys, man, you got me again. I know some people be like, man, how do you know so much, man? If you've been studying for over 30 years, you would know a lot too. I have the ability to give you a galactic history, but I also have the ability to give you unspoken history. Hey, peace and blessings, man. I'm out. I'll be back.